Today we're going to talk about fly strike. So this is a problem that you can get in rabbits, but it can be prevented by basic husbandry and rabbit care. So the first thing is that fly strike is caused when flies, mainly green bottles and blue bottles, lay their eggs on the rabbit, which then hatch out into maggots, and unfortunately the maggots then start to damage the tissues around the rabbit's back end. So the first things that you can do to try and help reduce this risk is to make sure that your rabbit's hutch or run is kept very clean, especially in the warmer months, making sure that you remove faeces and urine daily and that you do an entire deep clean of your hutch every week. You also need to ensure that your rabbit's bottom is clean. Now, rabbits that have problems with their teeth or are elderly or are overweight may have problems doing this themselves. If that's the case, then you'll need to make sure that you clean them regularly with sort of warm water and cotton wool. If that isn't working, or if they had any red or sore patches, then you'll need to contact your vet because they may need treatment for these. Another thing to consider is if they have trouble grooming, they may get matted around their bottom, and again, if they get faeces stuck around there, then that could be appealing to the flies as well, which can cause a greater risk. Also, if they end up with urine around their bottoms, that can also attract the flies, and that is another reason why they may have fly strike. Another area to monitor is also if your rabbit has problems with their eyes and they get very runny and sore. If you don't keep the area of the skin clean, then potentially that could attract the flies as well. So the first area I'm going to check is Mr. Pickle's face. I'm just going to make sure that his eyes are nice and clear, that there's no problems and there's no discharge. If there was discharge, then I would take him to the vets. And once the vet had checked him over, it's important to keep these areas just here by the tear ducts nice and clean with just some warm water and cotton wool. The next thing I would check is I'm just going to check that his bottom is nice and clean from this direction. So I'm just making sure that he's got no sore areas, that there's no faeces and there's no urine stuck anywhere, and that his tail is nice and clear. Then I'm just going to check his bottom from the other direction. So it's important that you should never ever lie rabbits down on their back because they find it incredibly frightening. So you always need to make sure you've got them well supported with a hand under his bottom and around his front. And you just need to check his tummy, which is nice and clean, and his bits and his bottom and his tail and all around his genitals, and then just check his feet as well. Rabbits can get sores on their feet. They don't tend to have pads like cats and dogs, so they've got this really thick layer of fur, and sometimes faeces and urine can get stuck on there too. If they were dirty, then you'd need to make sure you cleaned them, and if there were mats, then you would need to take them to your vet to ensure that they were clipped and cleaned, and if the skin was sore, appropriate treatment was given. There are products that you can get from your vets to apply to your rabbit to try and prevent fly strike. So it's worth contacting your local veterinary centre to see which products that they recommend.